Hi guys, welcome to the video. Today we're going to be talking about the top 3 gods that you should play in each role in order to learn a new role. So these are going to be gods that are pretty easy to learn but hard to master, and gods that when you're just starting out, they'll basically play themselves, and so you don't have to focus on the particular god you're playing. You can focus on learning the new role. But these are also going to be gods that once you do learn how to play this god and learn to play the role, they do have enough intricacy where you'd actually want to keep playing them and keep getting better at them. So we're going to start off in solo lane, and we're actually going to go to the mage tab for this one. So our first solo laner that we're going to be talking about is Hades. So Hades is a really good solo laner to learn solo lane because you can basically cheese the laning phase. If you just start with purple boots and go to lane, one-shot your blue, and then use your combo on the wave every single time, you basically have infinite healing, a ton of lane pressure, you're never going to die because you have a leap. You can, if the enemy misplays the lane, you can kill them with your ult, and then when you get to late game, you basically will have a lot of damage items and maybe like one defense item, and you get a big dash 2-3 ult in a team fight, and the game's over. So Hades is a really good one to start out in solo lane. And the next solo laner we're going to look at is a warrior, and that's Nike. So Nike is a great solo laner to learn because she has really safe poke with her rend. She helps your team out with the passive that gives them all power and movement speed. She has a leap, so she's really hard to kill. And then if you're ever close to dying, you can just ult, and you get like double HP. And so you really should never die as Nike. And you go into late game, you build thorns, you jump in, you ult, and basically it's a free team fight. And then our last solo laner that we're going to talk about is Sun Wukong. And Sun Wukong is really similar to Nike. You have really good poke in the one, just a big line ability to smack them. You have a mobility ability. You can get out with your eagle form if you need to. And then if anything's going poorly, you just ult and you heal up your whole HP bar and you jump in. Wukong is probably less safe than Nike because his ult is not immediate, so it doesn't quite get you right out of any situation, but it does make you CC immune. But Wukong does a lot of damage and can have a lot of sustain if you build Soul Eater. So he's a really good one to learn solo lane as well. So now let's talk about junglers. So we're going to go to the Assassin tab for the junglers, and the number one jungler that I think you should learn if you're going to be trying to learn the jungle role is Bastet. This character just got reworked and is probably going to get reworked again, but in her current state, she basically has a super easy but fun kit. What you do on Bastet is you just go full flat pen, full power, and you jump in, 2-3, jump out. If you have ult, then you ult first and you just do the same thing, and the ult just makes the rest of them do more damage. And you just rinse and repeat that for the whole game. In the early laning phase, you just go and clear the buffs, and then you can, for your ganks, you do that, you jump in, use your abilities, jump out. Late game, you're just doing the same thing. So it's very, very simple, very one note. If you just learn how to do her combo, then that's it. She does a ton of damage. She's really hard to kill because you can always jump in and out, and she's super fun. Second jungler that we're going to talk about is Fenrir. Fenrir is a good jungler to learn because he has Brutalize, which is like a tracking ability, so you really don't have to be crazy to hit it. You just track onto him and do like 3/4 their HP, level 3. He also is good because you can use your ult, which gives you CC immunity, and then if you have your runes active, gives you a lot of protections, and you can carry someone to your team for them to kill, so it's a really simple way to punish people that don't have beads. And Fenrir is also a good one to play when you're learning jungle because you can actually build defense on him and still do really well because his base damage is so high. So if you build defense, you kind of just have more of a margin for error in the jungler, so Fenrir is a great one to do for that. And the last jungler I want to talk about is Pele. So Pele is a really good jungler to start off playing in the jungle because her abilities are really simple. She has just damage on her 1, knock up around you on the 2, speed on the 3, and then you dash in with the alt. So she's a good one to play because she has so much speed, especially with the 3. She can get around the map and she can clear camps extremely well, and she can be where she needs to be without necessarily taking the best pathing just because she is so fast. She has really good sustain with her passive, and her ult is just a very simple way to engage, or you can ult out to get out of a sticky situation. So now let's talk about mid laners. So if you're trying to learn mid, you need to play Kukulkan, because Kukulkan is #1 god for controlling space in a team fight. What you do is you place down your 3, and you ult, and you're basically creating a huge circle and a massive rectangle where if anyone steps there, they're gonna die, and it just controls where the enemies are allowed to be in the team fights. And then you wiggle around with your 2, and you spit your 1 every once in a while, and you have a very simple job to do. So Kukulkan is super safe in lane because your 3 full clears the wave. You can sit in your tower and use your 3. You can speed around everywhere. You get slow immunity. You can hit a huge ult from super far away, so you really never have to put yourself in danger as Kukulkan. You can put out massive damage, and with his passive, which gives you magical power, that's 4% of your mana, you can build the really safe Book of Thoth build, and you can build Book of the Dead, which gives you a shield that's about the size of your health bar. So you really should never die on Kukulkan, do a ton of damage, and that's what mid's all about. So the second mid laner we're going to talk about is Nuwa. And Nuwa is not quite so safe as Kukulkan, but pretty simple to play. What you want to do on Nuwa is go in lane. You can clear with your 1 and your 3. And if an enemy dives you or you're trying to kill someone, you just put out your soldiers and stun them. And if you're ever in trouble or you want a free kill or you just want to farm some player damage, then you can ult. So Nuwa's a good beginner mage because you can contribute to the team fight and to the game even if you're not hitting your abilities because you just ult. And that's just late game, that's like 400 damage to each person. Now you, as a mid laner, you have done your job in that team fight if you just Nuwa ult. So it's a really good one for beginners, but it's also a good one where if you do put in the time to getting good at her, there's some tricks you can do, especially with the passive. As a beginner player, you're probably not going to use the passive very much, which is a root on the basic attack, but that's something that at a higher level you can really make use of. So the last mid laner I want to talk about is Ra. So Ra is kind of like a Kukulkan where you're just very speedy and you just throw damage from a range. His damage covers less area and is harder to hit than Kukulkan's, but Ra brings one thing which sets him above the rest, and that is his healing. So with Ra, if you're in trouble or your team's just got hit a lot in a fight or you're sieging, or basically any situation, you can sit in your 3, your whole team can sit in there, and they all get healed and they all get defense and they all get power. And so Ra 3 is a very easy ability. You're not going to miss it because you just place it on the ground and your team goes to it. And you can just give your team so much value. And then off setup, you can hit your 1 and your ult. And he's super safe in lane because you can clear the whole wave with your 1 from under tower. If you ever get hit by anything, you just heal up with your 3, and then you speed around. If you have to back, it's fine because you're so fast that you can get back to lane quick. So that's why you'd want to play Ra. So next we're going to talk about ADC. So the first ADC that I would recommend is Jingwei. And the reason I want to recommend Jingwei is this character is the safest hunter. So when you're learning ADC, most ADCs when you come to late game are going to be super strong because your auto attacks are going to do so much damage. So basically the name of the game is not dying to ganks early game and not dying in lane early game. And Jingwei is the best at that because she has 2 movement abilities. She has her dash on her 3, and then she also has her ult, which is like a huge leap. So nobody really can catch up with you. And then she has her passive where if you have to back, you can just fly right back to lane. So Jingwei basically never dies in the late game with her 2 giving you crit chance. You can just go a really high damage crit build. Super safe, you never die. And that's really good. The second hunter is very similar to Jingwei. It is Hachiman. So Hachiman does have a little bit it's less safe than Jingwei, but has more damage, early game especially. Hachiman also has 2 movement abilities. He has his dash, which is his 3, and then he has his ult, which is your mounted archery, and that gets you all the way out. Your CC immunity goes super fast, and you shouldn't die as Hachiman. Another good thing that makes Hachiman good for learning a role is you never have to worry about mana. He gets an incredible amount of mana, so you never have to buy a mana pot or worry about mana in any way. So that's just one less thing you got to worry about while you're learning the role. You can help your team get attack speed by dropping your Heavenly Banner, which is also really good for clearing the wave. So he's got good wave clear. He doesn't do as well late game as Jingwei, but if you never die and you get to late game as an ADC, that's basically good enough if you're just learning the role. So the last hunter that I want to talk about is actually kind of been slamming up the meta recently, and that is Cupid. Cupid is not as safe as these other 2 ADCs because he only has 1 movement ability, but the pressure that you get in lane from Cupid is definitely worth that. So Cupid has his dash to get out of trouble. His ult is a huge cripple, which is good against most ADCs, good against Hachi and Jingwei that we just talked about. Anyone who's planning to dash away or use a movement ability to get away, Cupid can shut them down with this Fields of Love, either force their beads or force their ult. And then if you force the beads or ult of your ADC lane opponent, then your jungler just has a super easy gank. So you can do your job getting lots of pressure in lane with Cupid. You're super safe, you can dash away. You've got the Heart Bomb to clear the wave or to get kill pressure. And then you've got healing, and healing has kind of been tearing up the meta recently, so Cupid heals are also really great. And then you do, your 3 also gives you a lot of attack speed, so late game you'll still be a monster. So Cupid's a little less safe than Hachi and Jingwei, but he brings a lot of pressure, and he brings a lot of value for your team without necessarily having to, be crazy hitting your abilities. The ult, you really can't miss Cupid ult. And then when Cupid ult messes them, then you hit your 1. So you don't have to be good to play Cupid, and you can get a lot of pressure in lane. So that's a really good thing to just focus on. Playing the lane, not have to worry about necessarily being good at Cupid. So last role we're going to talk about here is the support role. So the first support I want to talk about is Cerberus. If I can find him. Here we go. So Cerberus is good in support because he basically just kills the enemy by themselves. He removes their protections with his 2, and then you one-shot them with your 1. If you have a huge team fight ult, this makes you CC immune and is like a massive ult that grabs everyone, so you can have your mage hit a fat ability and then you win the team fight. If you ever get in trouble, you just jump away. And he has an anti-heal passive, so even if you're not hitting your abilities, you're still like doing a lot for the team. So that's why Cerberus is good. Next one I want to talk about is Ganesha. So Ganesha is good because when you're learning support, you don't want to pay attention to last hitting minions and last hitting gods. You just want to play. And most supports that you'd play, you're going to be stealing gold from your ADC by getting those last hits, but Ganesha is not. Ganesha's passive makes it so that if you accidentally take a last hit, stop your hunter from stacking his item, or steal a kill, it actually just gives it to the hunter. So you don't have to worry about messing up last hits. You can just worry about staying alive, clearing the wave, and doing, learning to play the support role. His 1 is really good for clear. He has the 2 and 3 for peel. He has a dash, and this dash goes through enemy walls, so he's really hard to lock down, very safe. And then the ult is just a massive rectangle that you can put down in the team fights, and you don't really have to hit it on them. You just put the enemy inside of it, and then they have to make a hard decision of whether to walk through it or to waste their movement ability to get out, or to beads, or to Aegis. So you leave all the hard part to the enemy. You just place the ult around them. So that's why Ganesha is a good support to start out with. And then the last support that I want to talk about is Jingtian. So Jingtian is good for a lot of reasons. Ganesha's good. He doesn't have the Ganesha passive where you don't take last hits, but he does have the 1 for really good clear in lane. He has the 2 for peel. He has a double jump, so you can jump over walls. You can, jump to juke abilities. You're very safe with his ability. You can get out of most situations with this. The passive gives you HP 5, which at max stacks 36 HP 5, which is huge. So you don't have to back a lot. You can keep fighting and keep being in the team fights, and you don't have to buy as many health pots. So it's just one less thing you have to worry about. And then the alt is CC immunity, and you get in there and you grab everyone, and it's huge for the team. And so Jingtan's pretty easy to play. You just jump in, alt, and then use your 2 to peel if you need to use the 1 for some damage. And if you're ever in a bad situation, you just jump out because you got double jump. So that's why you'd want to play Jingtian. So that concludes the list of all the 3 gods in each role that you'd want to play when you're learning the role. But these are gods that if you do put in the time to get good at them, there's some more tricks that you can do with them and some more interesting plays. You'll notice in the jungler section I didn't include Bakasura. That's because Bakasura, well, he's really easy to learn. You can learn jungle. There's no point in actually getting good at Bakasura because you can't make any good plays because he's like actually brain dead. So these are guys that are not actually brain dead, but they're maybe a little smooth brain, so you can get started out. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.